G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute. Today I'm joined by Algared and Osiris Frost. How you boys doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
So we're here today to talk about the G12 and its variants that are currently up for sale at Invictus Fleet Week. I think I will start out this video by saying our normal recommendation is don't buy vehicles. They are not worth it. And that this follows suit as well for this vehicle. But that said, we will still talk about this vehicle and its pros and cons and stuff like that. Initial looks.
Everyone better sit down. Please sit down if you're not, because this is going to be mind shattering.
Yeah.
Execute. What was your first initial response to seeing the vehicle?
I actually don't mind it. As Origin goes, it's probably my favorite Origin. Yeah, it's pretty sleek. I do like the look of it. It's probably one of my preferred vehicles in game, especially with the wheeled variants. I really like the look of it. Like just looks wise, I actually like it. And as I'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, your initial impressions are good, and Osiris. So yeah.
Osiris.
I agree. I think it looks really great. I'm a big fan of the Origin aesthetics and design language. There's nothing special about this that makes me change my recommendation to buy. I think it's an earning game.
Yep.
But to me, well, actually, I'll let Algrid give his 2 cents first before I switch topics.
I really like the racing version. I like the look of it. It looks like a racer.
Yeah, very nice
and
paint
Origin
job.
ships. And Origin ships, their design language kind of has that sleek, speedy feel about it. But that racer version just reminds me of Bathurst 1000 racing cars. It's just got that right amount of advertising on it. It's got the bright color. It just screams racer. And so for me, that one really just sets it apart.
Mm.
The one I prefer is probably the standard G12 though.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about the G12. And that's something we've talked about obviously before the show. That will be our recommendation of these three. And my thoughts on this is purely based off the Cyclone. You're kind of getting the standard Cyclone with its cargo, but you're getting double the cargo at 2 SCU, and you're getting a turret on it. So you're kind of getting those two versions of the Cyclone combined together. You can't carry a third person, but you can carry extra cargo. And for me, that's just a no-brainer. And the real strength of this, obviously, over the Cyclone is that enclosed cab. And I know you guys agree with me, so I'm not even going to ask what you think on that. But is there any other things? I know you wanted to go over something, sorry. So just say what you're going to say.
Oh, well, I mean, other than that combination of characteristics, this feels a lot like just reskinned Cyclones, doesn't it? I mean, the Origin's not really bringing anything new to the segment, and it
Yeah.
makes you wonder, like, what else can we expect from ground vehicles going forward?
And how can they differentiate the two? Like, is one going to be like I was saying before the show to these guys? Like, the Tumbrel's got those special tires, so are they going to make this more drifty to make the Cyclone's tires seem better? This one's obviously not going to flip as much because it's got a wider wheelbase. So it's like how can they really take a Jeep and make it more different from another Jeep? And I'm very curious to see how they're going to do that when it gets in game. But yeah, as Osiris has said, it just feels like a reskinned of the same thing.
But I also think we've got to change the language, because this is not a Jeep. This is not a Tumbrel in size. This is basically an Ursa. It's
Yeah.
only half a meter shorter than an Ursa. It's wider than an Ursa, but it's low. It's got a lower height profile.
I think the difference though between that and an Ursa is the Ursa is like a slow armadillo type of, not a tank, but like it's a lot more defensive than these two.
It's got the seats in the back, so you can carry crew. This doesn't have the seats in the back.
Mm.
Um, but it's still it's basically the same size, and that's the key thing. The big advantage of it has over the Ursa, I think, in the G12 is the fact that it's a lower profile. So same firepower, low profile. So popping a rise, you're not going to be silhouetted as much.
Well, one of the things you said when we were first starting our discussion is you initially thought that this was between an Ursa and a Cyclone, and I kind of think that might be where they are going with it in some ways, like the wider wheelbase and stuff like that. Maybe it is going to be slower, but I almost somehow down it too because it's Origin, and Origin don't do slow, so they're kind of known for their racing. So maybe it is some kind of combination, but it's like a faster Ursa. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. They also do mention it's more armored as well. So yeah.
Well, they certainly do refer to it as a scout vehicle, so it is kind of murphing that idea of merging. Sorry,
Yeah, it's
merging the idea of the Jeep, the Humvee, and something slightly bigger. So it's certainly getting that, but it's certainly not the APC that the Ursa is.
Now, I would like to talk about the what do they call it? The R, the combat version, or the C, or whatever they call it. I can't even remember the letters at this point. But I'm
black one.
Yeah, the black one. Compared to the AA Cyclone, it has literally like 4 times as many missiles, but you lose the EMP, which I think makes this kind of interesting because it's priced cheaper, but it does more damage. So I'm really kind of like, I think it's kind of highlighting that we've come to that point where they've just released so many vehicles that the pricing is just literally all over the place.
This one is a real head scratcher to me.
Yeah.
It's the combat variant, but they took away the guns. All it has is the missiles and the armor. And I at this point in time, I'm kind of struggling to see the application for a vehicle like that, or even the Cyclone AA outside of theaters of war. I just don't see it as a very practical thing in the PU.
Sorry to cut you off there, Osiris. I could see an application. It was one I saw someone, I can't remember who it was. We were in chat, and they said the advantage of this, or the application of this, is it's a type of ship you leave in a position with an NPC to guard while you're away. That's about the only thing I could see for it as well.
Well, yeah, true. You can do that, but think about like what sorts of things are you actually going to destroy with these missiles?
Yeah.
And I would argue that a lone fighter probably isn't going to be flying at low altitude over your base. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
it's more likely going to be the A2.
I think you're going to be really bored if you're sitting in this thing, or even the AA, and waiting to blast ships out of the sky.
Oh, look, I would see it more in a convoy situation where it's, with a bunch of Nova tanks, and this is defending the Nova tanks or whatever the other ground vehicles are. That's its job. It's the AA. And it would have to rely on them for ground cover. And I, from a game design perspective, that's the mechanic. It's a rock, paper, scissors. It's covering the air, and then it's being covered by tanks and stuff on the ground.
But didn't the Nova tank also have AA?
Not to the same extent though as this. You know what I'm trying to say?
Okay.
Yeah, 8 missiles is quite hefty.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the Cyclone. The Cyclone's only got 2 missiles, but it's also got that EMP, and that EMP is quite strange. I feel like they've almost tacked the EMP onto the racing variant because it didn't have anything else to offer, but I actually find I actually think that they should have, because this is the weird thing though, I actually feel like they should have just put less missiles and an EMP on the combat one, but then it literally is the same as the Cyclone, so they're like, oh, we can't do that, and left the racing one as a racing one, because now the question with the racing one clearly becomes, well, that's a really strong racer because it can cheat and disable everyone else. That's like, are they going to make it so that it's illegal to use that in races and therefore it's totally redundant? Because
win the race, they get a crime stat.
Do you remember at the last Daymar rally? I think it was the last one. They had a problem with people showing up in ships and screwing with people who were racing, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
I don't know what the range on the CMP is, but I mean, that's instant retribution if a ship starts shooting at you and you're trying to to mind your own business and race, and you can knock it out of the sky. That's kind of fun.
But the other thing is, it just becomes the de facto choice because everyone else has an EMP, so I need one as well. Like, and if other
Yeah, you're
races
right,
don't
yeah.
have the EMP, then why am I choosing them? Because, do you know what I mean? Like, if everyone else has got it, I have to have it too, or I'm at a massive disadvantage. Which either means this goes slower to compensate for that,
Yep.
or yeah, it's just a really weird. Like, I questioned it quite a bit. But yeah, that aside, as Algared said, it looks damn fine. So yeah. Anything else you guys want to add? Because I think that kind of wraps it up for me. It is just a vehicle after all. I do, as I said in earlier today, if you actually go onto the website, I wonder if I can actually quickly bring this up while we're here. Just bear with me. Bit of a change. If I go back to, where is it? This one. This kind of highlights why I don't recommend vehicles. You've got a 325A here. This is an Australian pricing, obviously, at $77 US, so that'll be normally $70 US. You got a 60, I think this is $55 US ship, and the same thing for the vehicle. Why the hell would you buy a vehicle when you can get these? And just to put this in perspective, this is the same price as an Avenger Titan. Just vehicles are just not worth it. In short,
And the Avenger Titan carries 8 SCU of cargo, isn't bound to a planet,
yep.
has the bed,
Has a bed.
has the kitchenette, has the head, has all those bits and pieces, and yeah, and has good armor and weapons and missiles. So it doesn't make sense.
Yep. So I think we'll leave it there. You know our normal stance. Yeah, don't buy vehicles. If you are going to get a vehicle though, out of this lineup, we recommend the G12. All right. He's been Algared. He's been Osiris Frost, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
See you later.
Take care.